We Americans speak pretty freely. We trash politicians, celebrities, each other. But there's one group that people fear speaking about.
ISIS taking responsibility for Sunday's shooting here in Texas.
This shooting happened at a Draw Mohammed contest.
If you draw Mohammed, you can get death threats.
Bosch Fawstin won the contest with this cartoon depicting Mohammed saying, "You can't draw me." And the cartoonist responds, "That's why I draw you."
We have the right to express ourselves.
Why is it important?
We need that as Americans.
Why?
Because if we stop drawing Muhammad, we become a little more unfree.
Then America is more unfree, because many news outlets refuse to show his cartoon.
This is a news story, and call me naive, but I assumed every channel I went on would show the cartoon.
They don't want to be killed.
I don't want to be killed either, but I want to support free speech.
The satire magazine Charlie Hebdo wanted to support free speech too. But then
terrorists killed 10 journalists and cartoonists.
The gunmen shouting Allahu Akbar as they shot their way up and down 2 floors of that building.
Allahu Akbar.
Before that, a Dutch filmmaker made this movie criticizing Islam's treatment of women. For that, he was murdered on the street. When Danish cartoonist Lars Vilks tried to speak at a free speech event, people rushed the podium, screaming Allah Akbar, and punched him until police stopped them. Later, he attended another event where a terrorist shot at him but missed, hitting others.
At the freedom of speech event, 1 man was killed, 3 officers were wounded.
All over the world, people are killed for criticizing Islam.
Nilo Chakrabarti was hacked to death.
So now even Charlie Hebdo's cartoonists have announced, we will no longer draw Mohammed. Many Muslims say, it's about time.
I find it offensive.
Rula Alouk speaks for CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations. She says that no one should draw Mohammed because it's offensive to depict the prophet. Of course, she says CARE condemns violence.
We clearly are against those people that respond in violence, but it's a cornerstone of Islam for a person to have the right to freedom of speech and to freedom to express themselves.
What? It's only Muslims who seem to be doing the killing over speech.
These are a select few, very small minority group of people from within the vast majority of world's Muslims.
There are almost 2 billion Muslims in the world, and most are not violent. Also, some people say in the West, Muslims need special protection. In America, Muslims are a sometimes discriminated against minority. You ought to be kinder. You ought to respect their culture.
It was about free speech. And them saying it's not about free speech.
Mohammed as angry.
Well, he was. He was a killer. He killed people.
In America, Bosch has the right to say things like that. But in Canada, you were put on trial for what you wrote.
Yes.
Mark Stein wrote that the growing Muslim populations will soon take over the West. It is a mean thing to say.
But why should we not be able to say mean things? And
Stein fought his government in court and won.
These laws have no place in free countries.
No one should be stopped from saying what they believe. But some people are.
Molly Norris is a liberal cartoonist, a woman of drearily predictable views on every liberal attitude. But she happens to be a South Park fan. And an episode of South Park got cancelled because they'd made a very mild Mohammed joke, which wasn't actually a Mohammed joke. It was a joke about how you can't even make a Mohammed joke.
Jesus! Buddha! Muhammad!
In the next episode, Comedy Central even bleeped out the name Mohammed.
You're supposed to be watching. You see, I learned something today.
They bleeped 35 seconds of their show. So South Park criticizes everybody.
Right. They're grossly offensive about everybody, and it's fine. But they made a mild, the very mildest, pathetic, dweebiest, pansiest Mohammed joke you can imagine, and the network yanked the episode.
Episode 201 never aired again.
Molly Norris wanted to start a Draw Mohammed Day to protest this censorship. And she did it in all her liberal innocence.
Then she got death threats. So she's disappeared.
Her liberal newspaper, the way they put it in announcing that she'd gone, she was over, she'd ceased to exist, was "There is no more Molly." There is no more Molly.
She's vanished.
She's vanished. And no one knows whether she's alive or dead. The only people who ever write about her are a few of us right-wing nut jobs. Why does no liberal care about that? Because what's happened to Molly Norris is going to happen to you and you and you and you. You're just like 2 or 3 miles down the road.
CARE says it's legal to draw the cartoon, but you shouldn't out of respect.
In a theoretically happy world, people would not draw cartoons of Muhammad and they would not make jokes about Catholicism. But when only one religion kills people, it becomes necessary to stand up and argue for the right to do that.
Stein stands up. He joined a panel of cartoonists in Europe.
Our host was shot at point-blank range. The artist, he's now gone into hiding. There was a Norwegian comedian whose family restaurant was subsequently firebombed. There was a Dutch cartoonist who even then had to appear in disguise. He was wearing a burqa, and he has since retired from cartooning and gone into hiding too. So of the 6 people on stage, there's 2 of us left. When is CARE going to stand up against people who want to kill those who disagree with them?
Well, they say they stand up against that. They're against killing. You should just be respectful and not draw Mohammed.
In this case, respectful is a bogus code word. The only way we're going to move to a real sense of freedom is if every time somebody puts a bullet in a cartoonist for drawing a cartoon of Muhammad, is if every newspaper displays that picture.
But many won't. NBC, CNN, and the New York Times won't even run the Charlie Hebdo Mohammed cover.
Wanting to pick a fight with Islam is insane. Why would you want to make them hate you?
After the Texas shooting, some people blamed the activist who organized the contest. Why do we need to be mean?
Well, because I think meanness is part of the vigor of society. Hate is part of what it is to be human.
But polls show a plurality of Americans now support laws that would ban hate speech.
What is hate speech? If you apply hate speech, according to the terms that they're saying, 2/3 of the Quran are hate speech.
Ayaan Hirsi Ali grew up under Islam and now criticizes it.
The ideas that in which America is founded on are superior.
She knows both cultures.
I was raised in a Muslim family. Now, I was lucky enough. My father, he married me off at 22. By then, I was old enough, mature enough, and I defied him.
She ran away to Holland, where she became a legislator and started criticizing her old religion.
9/11, when that event took place, I started to speak out. I saw on television young people celebrate the fact that 3,000 Americans were killed and the Twin Towers were brought down.
This is somebody who has been known to express hateful attitude and bigoted remarks about Muslims and Islam. There are people that could be incited to violence because of her comments.
Ayaan Hirsi Ali is threatening violence against you?
She called for the destruction of Islam. She's clearly somebody that is speaking in a hateful way.
I did not cause 9/11. It's not Ayaan Hirsi Ali who kidnapped 276 girls in Nigeria.
There are billions of Muslims in the world. Most are not violent.
Still, they cannot run away from the fact that when it comes to violence committed in the name of religion, Islam is number one.
For saying that, Ali is wanted dead or alive. Yes, we can, says this Al-Qaeda magazine. A bullet a day keeps the infidel away. Why is it up to you? You could have stayed in Holland and lived a quiet life.
Yeah, I could have been quiet in my room, but you know what? How would I feel about myself? You can put your head in the sand as deep as you like, but if you're confronted with a grim reality like this, people murdering in the name of their God, murdering in the name of their holy book, the more you stick your head in the sand, the bigger the problem gets.
If Americans keep censoring ourselves, she says, the killers will push and push until we have no freedom left.